Okay, so my name is Jess White, and I'm going to talk about the Human Sovereignty Initiative. But before I get started, I want to tell you why this work exists. Because it didn't begin as a marketing idea, it didn't begin as a political campaign, and it didn't begin because I believed I had all the answers. It began because my entire life fell apart. And while I was trying to understand what had happened to me, I began seeing something much larger happening all around us. People were exhausted, families were overwhelmed, healthcare workers burned out, communities becoming divided. Technology was advancing faster than most people could understand. This is in 2023, 2024. Um, Artificial intelligence was entering into our workplaces, schools, homes, and decision making systems, and people were being told what to fear, who to blame, what to believe, and which side they were required to choose. And underneath all of it, I kept coming back to one question: what happens to humanity when people lose authority over their own minds, choices, identities, and lives? That question eventually became the Human Sovereignty Initiative. But understand how I arrived here, you need to understand where I came from. I'm an author of the Revelation Code, and this is the story behind the work. So, long before I became an author, I was a healthcare worker, and I still am. But I began my career serving people directly. I worked as a CNA and a medication aide long before becoming an LPN, licensed practical nurse. I was a CNA and a medication aide for about 7 years, and then I went on and got my nursing degree. Although I've spent approximately 25 years in healthcare, um, I just felt like I could be doing more. Um, Healthcare taught me how to live and how just to be. And it taught me things that no classroom ever could. It taught me what fear looks like when it enters a family. It taught me what exhaustion looks like in the workforce. It taught me what happens when people become numbers inside systems that were supposed to care for them. And I watched healthcare professionals carry on impossible workloads. I was part of it. I watched families struggle to navigate institutions they did not understand, getting spoke to in medical jargon, and then wondered why people were angry or why there's questions, and none of it was making sense at that time. Um, I watched patients lose their voices inside systems filled with professionals, policies, paperwork, and authority. And then I learned something important. A system could be filled with good people and still create harmful outcomes. That realization is later what became the central to my work in human centered leadership and artificial intelligence governance. So, my work eventually became expanded beyond direct patient care, and I became an entrepreneur and I built a healthcare staffing company. What began as an idea grew into an organization that within our first year, we were generating seven figures and we generated a couple million. Um, we supported dozens of workers and supplied thousands of hours to staffing and served healthcare facilities across multiple states. I learned how to build and how to recruit and how to lead and how to negotiate contracts, how to manage operations, how to create systems, and how to carry responsibility for payroll, clients, employees, and outcomes. I was responsible for everything. I had nobody to turn to, which was good and bad because there were questions and questions that I still have. But I also saw the deeper problems inside the workforce. Staffing shortages were not only scheduling problems. Turnover was not only an employee problem. Burnout was not an individual failure. And underneath the numbers were human beings, parents, caregivers, single mothers, single fathers, people trying to survive, trying to carry everything. They were carrying trauma and working inside systems that often demand performance without providing stability. And this is where my commitment to healing the healers began. I understood that workforce problems could not be solved only through policies, software, or tighter control. And people need systems that honor humanity. So my own life changed. Um, my long term relationship ended and my family structure changed. I became a single mom of five young kids after 13 years of being with their dad. And I then experienced serious health challenges and almost died with the hospital misdiagnosing me. Sorry, I'm sitting outside and there's a bug that's flying around. I think it's a mosquito. Damn things. Watch out for the mosquitoes in Kansas. Anyways, um, I lost the home I had worked to build. I lost the company I had worked to build, and the identity that I had created around being the strong, capable, productive, and responsible person like totally began to collapse. And when the systems around me fell apart, I had to confront something deeper. Who was I without the business, without the titles? Who was I when I couldn't perform my way out of pain? Who was I when the future I had planned no longer existed? There are moments in life when the strategies that once protected you stop working and you cannot outwork the grief. You can't organize your way around the transformation and you can't control your way back into who you used to be. That is the space where the Revelation Code began. The Revelation Code, it was born from collision between collapse and remembrance. It was my way of examining the patterns that shape human behavior, such as like fear, conditioning, identity, power, control, trauma, faith, leadership, transformation, and the difference between performing change and actually embodying it. And the book became more than a personal story. It became an architecture, a framework for understanding how people reset, release, rebuild, and remember who they are beneath everything that they were taught to become. That work eventually expanded into the trilogy, which is the Reset, Release, Revelation. And it begins by examining the foundation and then releasing the patterns that no longer serve us. Then moving into a deeper embodiment, responsibility, and conscious leadership. It's not only spiritual work, it's psychological, relational, organizational, and even technological. Because as I began studying human transformation, I began paying close attention to artificial intelligence. That mosquito's really going to get smashed here in a second as soon as it decides it's going to land. Anyways, um, artificial intelligence isn't another workplace tool. It's rapidly becoming a part of how people work, learn, communicate, hire, evaluate, create, receive healthcare, access information, make decisions, and understand the world. That creates extraordinary possibilities, but it also raises serious questions. Who is accountable when these systems cause harm? What protects human dignity when decisions are automated? And who ensures that workers are not reduced to productivity data? Who protects privacy? Who addresses bias? Who preserves informed consent? And who decides which part of human judgment should never be surrendered to a machine? These questions led me into a deeper human rights, ethical leadership, workforce education, and AI governance. I became a certified human rights consultant through the U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights. I completed additional education in business organization and leadership, as well as in human resource analytics, and also received human rights advocacy training certificate in DC. I studied AI ethics, governance, workforce disruption, bias, human rights, and the need for responsible oversight. Um, I developed more than 11 white papers and AI governance documents informed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, AI risk management framework, and related human centered principles. In February 2026, I submitted my work on human governance and AI ethics to a well-known institution for consideration, and it went to the program planning team, which I was super excited about to make it that far. um, I also developed AI awareness for the workforce, human rights, workforce resilience, and ethical AI literacy, an educational program designed to help ordinary workers understand artificial intelligence without fear and without surrendering their judgment. The more I studied, the clearer the central problem became. The greatest risk was not simply that machines might become more capable, the greatest risk was that humans might become less confident in their own authority. My credentials didn't replace my lived experience, so I want to be transparent about something. Credentials matter, education matters, research matters, professional experience matters, but credentials alone do not create wisdom. My work comes from the intersection of several worlds, from healthcare, business, leadership, human rights, artificial intelligence ethics, workforce development, community systems, spiritual transformation, and lived experiences through being a mother and 25 plus years of health and human services. I hold an associate's degree in liberal studies from Washburn University. I'm a licensed practical nurse and I have decades of healthcare experience. I built and led multi-million dollar staffing organization and I've been recognized through Marquise Who's Who and as a VIP through Power Magazine as a National Woman of Empowerment. I became an Amazon #1 best-selling author through the Revelation Code, and I received international human rights and advocacy training and became an ordained minister in 2025. Along with the training, I became a global voice of 2026. Thank you, and shout out to the Youth International Human Rights Division in DC for that recognition. I'm grateful for them. Um, my work has continued expanding into education, leadership, community development, and human centered AI governance. But none of those things make me infallible. They do not place me above questions. They do not mean you should surrender your judgment to me. In fact, the entire purpose of this initiative is quite the opposite. I want people to examine what I research and what I teach. Research it yourself, challenge it, apply what is useful, and question what is unclear, and develop their own capacity because human sovereignty cannot be taught through blind loyalty. The Human Sovereignty Initiative emerged when all of these parts finally connected. The nurse who had watched people lose their voices inside healthcare systems, the entrepreneur who had seen workers reduced to numbers, the mother trying to raise 5 children inside a rapidly changing world, the author trying to understand collapse, identity, faith, transformation, and all of it at once, the human rights consultant studying dignity, consent, and power, and the AI ethics researcher asking who remains accountable when machines influence human decisions. The community advocate asking how ordinary people participate in the systems shaping their lives. They were never separate identities. They were all pieces of the same mission. The Human Sovereignty Initiative was created to protect and strengthen human dignity, human agency, human authority, human discernment, human rights, and human responsibility and the human role in an increasingly automated world. It is not anti-government initiative. It is not an anti-technology initiative. It is not an anti-AI initiative, and it is not a movement built around fear. It is a human-centered initiative, and it asks some simple questions. How do we build technology without surrendering humanity? How do we create safety without unnecessary control? How do we respect expertise without abandoning discernment? How do we build communities without demanding conformity? How do we develop leaders without creating dependency? How do we question power without becoming consumed by hatred? And how do we remain fully human in a world changing faster than many people can process? Led to the development of the game framework. The journey is organized through these 4 movements: ground, activate, move, and body. Ground means to understand what's happening before reacting. It means returning to your body, examining fear, separating fact from assumption, and recognizing that what remains is within your influence. Activate means becoming conscious of your internal state. It means processing emotion, examining beliefs, regulating the nervous system, and choosing the values from which you want to act. Move means taking responsible action. It means building community, educating, organizing, participating, preparing, and creating systems that increase human capacity. Embody means living the principles in which when you have the power. It means leading without control, accepting accountability, developing others, transferring authority, and becoming the example. This framework grew from my own lapse. I had to ground after collapse. I had to activate what remained within me. I had begin to move again. And I'm still learning what it means to embody the principles that I teach. I'm sharing this work because people are afraid, not because they're weak, but because the world is changing quickly. Many people are experiencing economic instability, workforce disruption, political division, technology confusion, loss of trust, spiritual uncertainty, family pressures, health challenges, and information overload. Some people are surrendering to fear and turning the fear into rage. Some are obeying everything, others are rejecting everything. But there is another way. We can become informed without becoming consumed. We can question without dehumanizing. We can build without isolating ourselves. We can use technology without surrendering moral responsibility. We can prepare without living in panic. We can lead without manufacturing dependency. And we can become strong enough to carry truth without using it as a weapon. What this series is and what it's not designed to tell you what political party to support. It's not designed to tell you what religion you must follow. It's not designed to make you afraid of government, artificial intelligence, or institutions. And it is not designed to make you dependent on me. It's designed to help you ask better questions, to recognize fear, evaluate evidence, and protect your boundaries, to understand technology, strengthen your community, participate responsibility, and develop ethical leadership. Some episodes will draw from psychology, some from human rights, some from leadership and governments, some from spirituality, some from community development, and some from my own lived experience. Well, actually, all from my own lived experience. And I hope that you can build and correlate something with your own lived experiences and find your own way. And my kids are out here, so they're being kind of loud right now. But I'm not stopping recording. Shh, guys. um, when we discuss spiritual frameworks, I will distinguish those interpretations from established scientific claims. When we discuss public